So, very good afternoon. How are things going at your end? I hope everything is fine. And we are back together for another live session. Some familiar faces, some new ones. Very good afternoon, Vivarish, Ashokji, Santaji. So, guys, today we have very interesting markets which have just passed us by. I was not in the best of health, plus, I had some personal commitments. I was having a workshop in Calcutta as well. So lots of things I could not come live recently, and now we're going to discover things together. Very interesting things. Any questions? Any questions from any previous webinar? Any questions from any previous live sessions? If you have, you can share, ask. So in the last few days, what we saw was pretty intriguing. Some of the times I have shared with you that while the market is asleep, like while we are asleep, the market is still moving, right? So we saw recently there were really big gap ups, coming right after this hammer pattern over here, right? And similar was the thing in Bank Nifty as well, the other indices, hammer pattern. Now I had been sharing in the group that there is certain bottoming formation which was happening. Now the formation is important. How I got the signal or how somebody else got the signal is a different story, because two people can get a signal if you see this closely. I had been talking about in the group about Bank Nifty, the 27,200 mark, the 27,200 area, this zone. The first time I spoke about it was when it had come and approached this zone. Now this is an important zone with the OI showing us very important levels. In the previous webinar of live session, we discussed how it is showing an important level and there is a potential support zone over here. Now, later few days, what we saw that the stronger hands are actually collecting a lot of long positions. So basically, weaker hands are going long after seeing the market take a support. The weaker hands always think about bargains. They think that if they get a bargain, and which is what I would like all of you to be very, very careful about when you are trading, is that a lot of people get swayed into the fairy tale mentality that probably the next trade which they are going to take will be the lowest point, and which is unrealistic expectation. Buyers sit with their long positions. The stronger hands dominate the short positions, and as more and more and more, as more and more and more. Okay, Ashok ji, are you able to hear me fine now? Am I clearly audible now? Okay. So as more and more and more long positions are taken by the weaker hands, the strong hands are utilizing this patch of sideways movement to take short positions, to add to their short positions. So the market rests over here, and stronger hands are adding to their short positions. While now the temporary support which was there over here, there was strength coming from the buying power, but that has been overwhelmed by the bears. And then I had shared in the Telegram channel. Those who are watching this video can come to my Telegram channel with the description box. In the description box, I've shared the link. And this area is a very, very important technical area also. You see, there is a consolidation from which there's a break coming, and there's another consolidation right after it. So two consolidations. Price is gathering the steam. Price is gathering the steam to move further. Price is gathering the steam to move further. Also, we noticed one thing. Also, we noticed one thing that after a period of very strong volatility, that is a strong one-sided movement, after a period of a strong one-sided movement, there is a tendency for the market to contract in the volatility. So volatility has expanded, volatility is contracting, volatility is contracting, and then volatility expands again. So one-sided movements in the markets don't exist all the time. That is why probably after a big move up or a big move down, it's wise to let the market settle sometimes. Always going and running behind finding trades is not a very viable thing to do as a trader. So in that scenario, you have to put pieces together and make your understanding very clear that whatever is going on in the market is actually going to follow similar principles as the past, and we have seen these things happen in the past. Now all this put together, if in a bigger time frame we see, all this put together is also a part of a bigger contraction in volatility and expansion in volatility, which is why this overall trend is very strong and pieces of it is very strong. Which is why this overall trend is very strong and pieces of this overall trend is very strong. So the dominance of the bear market is very, 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 very strong. We can see that clearly. Now, there are two things, two ways people make money. One is either they pick up the correct transition. So if you pick up the correct transitions, okay, everybody with me on this, right? Raise your hand, you are completely understanding what I'm saying. Any questions? Everybody is with me on this. Raise your hands, right? Correct. Thank you so much. So I'm going to just rub the screen off. Is it fine? Can I rub the screen off, whatever I've drawn? I'll just repeat before rubbing that there is a contraction in volatility overall, leading to a big expansion in volatility. Within the bigger trend, there are smaller trends. The smaller trends where there is expansion in volatility and then further contraction, contraction, and then expansion, right? So I'm going to rub this off now. And the next point which I want to come to is when people make money in the markets, the major money is made by doing two things very, very properly. One is by understanding the transition of the market. That means markets keep shifting gears. Not necessary that every up move from a down move is a reversal, or every down move from an up move is a reversal. But the market keeps shifting gear. For that, one has to completely be in the, one has to wait very, very nicely to let the market show a new kind of movement emerging. That can be a continuing movement, that can be a short-term reversal, that can be anything. And the other way one can understand how to make money is by following the broader trend. So if somebody is following the broader trend, okay, obviously in the transition also you have to follow the trend, but if somebody is following the broader trend and taking a trade with the broader trend, the bigger moves and the sharper moves are most likely to be with the broader trend. The bigger, sharper moves, high momentum moves are most likely to be with the broader trend. Okay. So any questions regarding anything stock specific, you can ask me. And other than that, showing you other things which have been going on very attractive in a lot of stocks. So I have been, remember that last time I was on live as well as on my YouTube channel, I have been discussing the stock a couple of times. How many of you are remembering? I'm going to put all the hands down so that I can see fresh hands up. Okay. How many of you remember me talking about Balrampur Chini in my YouTube video where I give a snapshot of the market, or if I was having a live session with you all. How many of you remember me talking about Balrampur Chini? Raise your hands, please. Okay, a few people remember. So yes, this has been one of the stocks which has been talked about. Now, understanding that markets do not move in square and boxes is extremely important. So there is a very well known pattern which is called a double bottom pattern. Okay. Now there's always a question which I get from people. So is this pattern? Is that pattern? Always remember, markets do not move in squares and boxes all the time. Textbook like perfect patterns are not always present in the market. Market is not so generous. But yes, it is very generous in the fact if we read correctly. So two lows very close to each other, right? We see basically the essence of the pattern is that we are seeing a lot of buying power coming in every time the stock is dipping into these zones. So when this buying power is coming in from these zones, I know for a fact that these zones are very important, and these zones are where buyers are not letting the sellers stay anywhere. Okay, now what is happening that alongside this, as the market was coming down, there have been important interaction points where buyers and sellers have engaged and sellers have dominated. So sellers have dominated. So these areas needs to be taken out. So for the price to take out these areas doesn't mean that it has to take it out at once. Again, price is gathering the steam. Price is gathering the steam. Price is gathering the steam to move in such a way that it can break out of these interaction areas, these zones. If it can break out through these zones, so price has to gather some steam. Now it goes and gathers some steams in a formation which is like a different from another pattern formation. It is fine, but the whole idea is broadly we are following a double bottom, but it's still not just like you go and buy and then boom. Not always like that. So we have to keep that in mind, right? Balrampur Chini has been one stock which I've been mentioning, right? And some of these stocks keep giving. Now, Eicher Motors is one of the stocks which I was looking at again. So, Eicher Motors, let's go. Right now, you see a similar kind of formation taking place over here. I do not want to label anything at the moment, but I think most of you are getting the cue what I'm trying to get at, right? Now, doesn't mean that if you're trading futures, you go and buy just like that. If you buy in, if you don't define your stop loss, there's a problem, right? What we are seeing here is pretty similar to what we saw in the previous example. Some differences are there. The most important difference was that would be that this is a very strong, fresh, excuse me, a fresh resistance zone because it was a very fresh support zone broken. Okay, and we are trading above this after testing it couple of times, number of times. Excuse me. After trading near it, testing it number of times, is coming to break these areas. It has broken these areas. And how the move unfold? Does it do some sideways movement and then go higher, or does it go higher at once? Is still a question, right? So similar things keep happening if we use technical analysis. And again, some of the students have also been doing very well with certain stocks. And some of my students are here also. If anybody wants to mention any stock as a trade which you have taken, you're welcome to. I remember a lot of talk around Wipro happening, if I'm not wrong. Around these zones were effective resistances which were broken in intraday. So if somebody is trading intraday, you can get moves from short-term resistances. Wipro overall has been a very strong trend, which is very likely that it can continue. The structure is extremely good, and it may be a very good long-term play. I'm already getting some mentions. Okay, good one, good one, good one, good one. So Ashokji says that in Eicher Motors there is a possibility because volumes are not looking very good, right? How do I decipher this? Now that is a very valid point. Thank you, Ashokji. The volumes with which the breakout has happened doesn't look that it exceeds normal volumes. Again, volumes can be slightly tricky. The essence behind volumes is that volumes will be highest in the most powerful, volatile, one-sided moves. Powerful, volatile, one-sided moves are the areas where volumes will be the highest. Okay. Now, if we take the example for Balrampur Chini and we study it, we'll see the similar pattern followed. That after even breaking out, making higher highs and staying above it, volumes gradually increased and the maximum volume came when this breakout has happened. So yes, you are right in saying that volumes are not there, and that's a very valid point. However, it can come about, and it cannot come about, and the market can fall from here in HM Motors also, not a problem. But yeah, that is a very valid point. I'm just saying the other possibility which is there. Yes, true, absolutely. Other questions are also welcome. Now, okay, my view on Bank Nifty. Okay, fine. Now, one of my students again, uh, I come to my view on Bank Nifty. Had been my one of my students from Bangalore. He had made a mention in our student WhatsApp group where the people who have done the technically sorted course are there. That there's a strong hammer pattern in Engineers India at a support zone which is very nearby. And you can see how beautifully this is worked out. Now, hammer patterns, as I've mentioned before in my different courses from those who are from there, and even some of my free webinars, that here you can see that the market is rejecting lower prices. To make a candle like this, you will not see a candle which is exactly like this for a very long time. To make a candle like this, me and you can't do it. You need strong hands to be doing it. Right? My view on Bank Nifty is that we are at a very potential. Okay, I'm getting some one more question also. Just 1 second. Divi's Lab and Jubilant Food examples. Okay. Yes, I myself want to. Divi's Lab is good. Yeah. Jubilant Food also I'll see. That is also very interesting. Uh, Going back, Ashokji says, as volumes are not good in ICHA Motors, new resistance can be taken for short trades. Well, I wouldn't do that. The way market goes up and the way market goes down, okay, are different structures. So there is a possibility that just because it is not a long, according to you, if it is not a long, because volumes are not confirming, does not mean that it will become a valid short. Okay, so that is what I can say. I hope you got my point. But yeah, you're thinking on the right track. Just don't think that buying and selling has to be dialectically opposite all the time. Right? Okay, so my view on Bank Nifty is very simple. That we are in a very strongly falling market at the moment, and we are also seeing many components of Bank Nifty taking this fall in. Any kind of up move, if it has to come, will will demand some sort of consolidation before the up move start. Now, obviously, that consolidation can mean a 400-point consolidation. However, that demands a strong gathering of the steam, as I call it. Okay, that is number one. Again, market has fallen considerably. So for positional traders, entering after expansion may not be the wisest thing to do. And lastly, we saw a hammer pattern recently in Bank Nifty. So these areas are potential support zones. These areas are potential support zones, hammer patterns. Now, does that hammer pattern lead to an uptrend, or does that lead to some sideways movement and then a gear shifting towards the uptrend is a different question. In fact, I had taken a mean reversion trade also before the webinar, but this this is potential support zone, right? This is potential support zone. We also see there is a cluster and interaction of buyers and sellers around these areas. So yes, I would not be trading on the short side, and aggressive trading on the long side can happen. Now, if there is a build up which gives me a room to understand that the market is going again for the short moves, then I will go for short trades. But at the moment, I will not go short at any long positions or aggressive positions, only on the basis of the fact that these areas are strong potential support zones. And when strong potential support zones are there, okay, not necessarily that the market has to just go zoom up. It can move around and then slowly go up. Maybe it can show some pattern in this area and go above this. Anything can happen. So I'm not putting my finger as a trader on Bank Nifty at the very immediate moment. But this is the scenario how I am mapping it. And if I slowly map more and more as more price data comes in, I will have a better idea of what direction can I get a potential trade on. I hope I've answered your question. So I'm getting some other questions as well. Okay, so I take up one by one. So there are quite a few questions lined up. First is my view on Jubilant and Device Lab, and then a few other questions. Okay. Right around this area is where I took some mean reversion trade, and I got out of the trade also. It was a small scalp, nothing too great about it. I keep telling people there's nothing enough exciting about my trading. I step into the market, I get out of the market. That's pretty much it. Excuse me. So Jubilant Food has been very exciting to track over the years also. One of the things which we saw recently was some major movement after a period. If we this is the weekly chart, if we see smaller candles, even though the market is going up on very low volatility, and the weekly chart now cutting into the daily chart, with the recent bear move in market, it has taken a quite a good fall, right? Now the major question remains: after a fall, how do I perceive? Okay, this is a question I get very asked very often in textbooks. Even I say this, that there is a candle which happens after an extended move, and then there's a candle which happens after a short-term move. So, for example, after an extended move, if there is a hammer pattern, the implication of it are very more powerful. Okay, or for any candlestick pattern. Okay, now in for particularly hammer, even short-term moves are valid, but that does not mean that you take everything. What I mean by an extended move, that this move and this candle is way different from this move and this candle. You see a fresh breakout, a vertical fall. So I will negate this candle just to go and jump and buy. Of course, if there is some consolidation, there's some accumulation, and then there's a position, I might take it. But I will negate this candle only on the basis of this candle, I will not buy. Whereas this candle has different implications. Now, on the hourly chart, if I break these three, if I cut these three open, if I cut these three candles open, on the hourly chart, I get something interesting. Okay. On the hourly chart, I'm going to get the fact that we are forming a resistance area well defined, and then there is a grenade breakout. So there is a breakout, after that there is another breakout. So first we break out on the shorter time frame, which is by deciphering a consolidation between this range. I'm trying to make my language as simple as possible, not anything fancy. Those who are my students can get fancier term, I know, but a lot of people over here are new to technical analysis, must understand. So I'm making it very simple as a language. So there's a breakout in a smaller time frame, which leads to a breakout at a larger time frame of interaction zones where market has shown that there is selling power. So when selling power is existing and buyers are overwhelming the selling power, you can go long after it has crossed these areas and you can still get trades. So Shaktiji, I hope this is satisfactory. In the broader time frame, okay, in the broader time frame, it is still in an uptrend. Okay, we have not seen very well defined lower structures, but since the markets just don't go up and just don't go vertically, just don't go down and just don't go vertically up all the way, we might see some more digestion before we have to see a very big move. Okay, and then we were talking about DV slab, which is again one of my uh, good favorite stocks, you can say. Favorite in the sense the favorite formations recently have happened. Okay, now this is the weekly chart, this is the daily chart. Now what I like about the weekly chart is that over here I have given umpteen examples, especially to students in the course. When I teach a concept, I just keep giving a lot of examples, right? Oh yes, Ashok, you were right. Yeah, Jubilant Food, yes, that is bro. So uh, you can see this is the weekly chart, right? Now this weekly chart is showing me something like a machine gun, like a machine gun. The buyers are shooting and creating these wicks, these wicks, these wicks. The lower wick is existing. The lower wick, whenever you see existing, these are very bullish evidences, right? So this cluster of candle in the weekly chart, if I cut this open on the daily chart, okay, I cut this open on the daily chart, I will see that there has been a series of, not just a series of higher highs, but a major resistance breakout also. That too with powerful volumes and strong green candles. Now something which has done this, okay, has to sustain, is likely to sustain, is likely to sustain above this. But when we see that after contraction, after expansion of movement and volatility, there's a contraction happening. It is okay, but you don't get into the sell side. Like some people come to me and say, this is a sell. Okay, I have just one thing to tell them. Okay, fine. This is a possible sell. I'm not disagreeing. What is the larger trend? Larger trend is on the upside. Okay, and therefore you should understand a very basic idea that even though something may look like a pattern to you, it may not have any signification because it is against a very strong larger trend. Now this is a very strong larger trend. As the prices are going higher, the movement, the volumes are higher. As the prices are going sideways, the volumes are lowering. And then we see a resistance breakout. So these were very good areas to buy in this stock in the recent past. Right? This is how I've been looking at Davis Lab. Any other questions in particular? Excuse me. Any questions? Okay, my take on Sun Pharma. I'll take up Sun Pharma and Tata Com for now. Okay. So Tata Communication, I particularly have no trading view. Okay, this is one of the stocks I track a bit less also. Uh, there is no particular view except for the fact that it's in a intermediate downtrend at the moment. So if somebody has to follow the trend, one is probably going to benefit more from being on the shorter side, right? From the short side. So that is my simple and straight view. Sun Pharma uh, is a I have a clear view on Sun Pharma. Some more clarity on Sun Pharma. I have been having every time. Okay, Ashokji. Every time, what is happening is that we are not getting to enter all the time. See, market demands for us to wait for a good trade. Then it can reward us. Okay, market demands that. So every time you will not get a trade to enter. But yes, Sun Pharma and in the case of a BTST, which some of the BTST will also be shared and uh, as ideas. So in case of BTST, this has been a good BTST. There has been a BTST, and other than that, I have not personally taken any trade on this. Okay, but I feel that this is in a very strong uptrend, and if somebody is going long at the moment, I wouldn't recommend. But yeah, if somebody is holding long position, it is following the similar pathway. Like there's a sideways movement. Sorry, there's a lower volumes after strong volumes. So if it consolidates and breaks out, it's a very good opportunity to go long. You have to mitigate the risk. So that is why I'm saying in this manner. Because you see, if I'm going long, okay, I went long within this day. I knew my stop losses. I knew my risk to rewards. If the risk to rewards are not present and the formation and stop losses are not present, the probability of the trade to go right or wrong may not change. But the probability of the risk reward being hit can vary like anything if your entry points are different. So always wait for new formations. But yes, I have been very bullish on this personally. There have been reasons to go long over here. So there was a move here. There were reasons to go long over here at a very valid breakout above all these interaction zones. There's something that has, you know, been so strong, strongly moving, breaking the resistances, going higher. Okay, Ashokji went long over there. That is an excellent choice. That's great. Today, I particularly came to discuss the fact that what we have missed in the last few days with the broader markets, with the markets in general. And since some people are asking about, two people asked in the beginning about how the strategy based actions were working out. So for example, okay, just giving a very arbitrary example, I mentioned that some of the sell signals came about in UPL in my on strategy based, okay, on strategy based trading or rule based trading. So UPL came about becoming a sell. Now I got my targets, I got a movement. After that, it can turn around, not a problem. So that particular system was designed. As I said, it is important for us to know what each system is designed for. So that is designed for sudden thrust of moves, where something else may be designed for something else. Like for example, Engineers India moved lower after that day. So these kind of things where reversal are coming after that can always happen. That's not a problem. As long as you get your targets, as long as you do your trading, as long as you get your entries, that is fine. Now we see that markets also, as well as, say for example, Engineers India, even though on the hourly chart we have seen that there is a sort of bullish engulfing pattern, okay, although it's not covering it from the low, is it? Okay, but yeah, there's a bullish engulfing pattern. These have been strong areas of support, okay, strong support areas, interaction points. Still, after that, the market on the hourly chart is not sustaining higher. Okay, so this is the important point with the broader trend you have to keep in mind that even though if there are areas where the market is taking support, at once one green candle it is showing that yes, I have taken a support. I would recommend everybody that the safer way to go about trading is wait for this evidence. Okay, it can be a smaller time frame, but I'm giving an example. The second is that after this candle, okay, when it is in a strong trend, otherwise, you might have to wait for some pattern to happen because it is going to show the same candle the day it is going to ultimately take a support, or similar candle it is going to take a support and have a big rally. It is going to show a similar candle, but just be on a safer side to get the probability more and more right. You must follow the broader trend. Okay, so like for example, Bank Nifty. Let's see what it's doing right now. Yeah, Bank Nifty also, say for example, the 15-minute chart area, it took support during these moves, but then it has re-entered this one. So if it shows more congestion and starts going up, the possibility of being a strong buy is good. Okay. So as I said, you can be aggressive, you can go long now. Again, you have to keep control over your risk appetite. Just don't take my word for it. Yeah. I would personally, I'm a conservative trader, so I wait for things to happen and want to get into the market where I'm more and more, convinced with the probability, subjective probability of a trade. So I will sit and quietly wait for things to unfold. And it's not just about today or little bit more movement, okay? The markets can show that for maybe a pattern of 2 to 3 days also, they're not moving anywhere. And lastly, you have to keep the individuality different with stocks, okay? So like for example, Asia Motors I made something. It doesn't mean that what is happening in Nifty, if Nifty goes down, Asia Motors will go down. Doesn't always have to mean that. Or if Nifty goes up, Asia Motors will be 5% higher. But yeah, it doesn't always mean that. So always look at things individually, what the formation are going on in individual stocks, what your possible stop losses, in where your analysis would get invalidated if your stop loss gets hit. So you got to trade on that basis. Today, I purposely avoided a little bit of too many indicators or too many systems, just to give you a clear picture of how the basic buying and selling is taking place. And although we all may be unaware while trading, but you have to understand trends tend to exist. Trends tend to always be there simply because in these trends you have a lot of strength, okay, a lot of strength is, so a lot of weaker hands are having long position, that is why it is fiercely breaking. So when the market is pulling back up, it is not easy for it to just go and make new high. Okay, these strong trends will take time. It will either shake out the weaker hands from their long positions, or it will make the weaker hands very, very bored, that they get bored and take off the long position. How many of you are resonating with me? Please raise your hand. What I'm saying. The psychological impact of technical analysis. Like, why is the psychological essence? The mass psychology is forming technical analysis patterns. How many of you are getting me? Raise your hands, please. Because it will bore, either it will shake out, which is when we say panic selling and panic low, and either it will bore the hell out of people who are holding long positions and waiting for the market to go high, right? Every month, Ashok is saying this month the mind game is stopping retail on both sides. I think that is the story every month, every week, every day, every time frame. Right? So we are getting evidences all the time. But in the live session, I just don't want that people think blindly. Just understand my thought process. As a technical analyst, I have a thought process. It's not just that if I'm seeing a candle like this, I will say go buy. Not necessarily that. And if I'm saying this, why am I saying this? Because I'm seeing that the support zone, this candle is showing me that I am taking a support. Just because it is coming to a support doesn't mean it is taking a support. It is breaking. Okay? But these candles showing, yes, I am taking some sort of support. Is it powerful enough to continue? Is a different question. That is the next layer. So if you cover layer by layer, the market will show you layer by layer. If you are willing to have the patience to reach to the answer, the market will give you the answer. Ashokji Singh might be the bigger hands creating to take positions for them. Well, in different time frames, this mechanism follows. So yes, it can be anything. In bigger hands may be accumulating long position, as I said, but they may be doing it for long term or short term. That is something which the bigger hand would know. And bigger hands also lose money. It's not that. It's just that the bigger hand or the more strong hands make money majorly, and that is why they are bigger hands, because they're smart enough to make money. And secondly is that when they are strong, when they're dominating, if they are bulls, then they are beating the sellers and pushing the prices higher, right? So guys, I'll come back soon. We will meet in another market phase on another market day, possibly tomorrow, possibly some other day of this week. A little bit of absentee I was in recent because of some commitments and also a little bit of poor health. But I look forward for another session like this again. I hope you all had a good time. You guys are welcome to come up with questions and it can become as interactive. No problem, right? So until then, I will see you. We call it a day, and thank you so much for joining me today. It was a good, happy experience being with you all. Okay, take care. Bye bye. Thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you. Yes. Enjoy. Thank you, Ashokji, Rupalish, everybody. Shubhaji. Bye bye. Enjoy.